We grew up on mixtapes and neon lights.
Hey there, everybody. We are the Globetrotting Trio. I'm Amy.
I'm Shelley.
Tammy. Oh, I messed up. Sorry, pause
We're
again.
so going to get that. We're going to get it. It's Amy. It's Shelley. It's Tammy. Woo!
Well, they do an alphabetical order, and I just, for whatever reason, I just can't get it. So I'm sorry, Shelley.
It's just your excitement. That's all.
It is. It's
not
all
a
it
big
is.
deal.
There you go. We're all excited to be here. All right, we've had some great topics so far, but let's talk about this. What is that trip that changed everything? That one trip that said, okay, it took us from not thinking we were ever going to travel to traveling all the time, because that's what we needed to do. All right, who wants to go first?
Tammy, you go.
Tammy,
Okay.
go. There you go.
I know. All right. So I actually, and I go down several avenues with this. The first one is the very first flight that I ever took was literally to Hawaii, from Ohio to Hawaii. And I was a nervous wreck, never been on an airplane before, but I remember going, oh, I kind of love this, kind of thing. I mean, of course, Hawaii was a long flight, but it still was like something that I would have never experienced. I mean, I was in a small town going into Hawaii. So that was kind of like my first one. And I was 21, 22 years old when I got on my first flight. Can you imagine that? My kid, a travel agent kid, was 8 months old when he got on his first flight. So
Of course.
of course he was, in the airline industry for 20 years. So, but then if I look at it too, is, when I actually started the airline industry, the trips that probably changed everything is one of my coworkers, Matt Lucas was his name. And he was like, oh, let's go to all 50 states. And I'm like, oh, okay. So that was the thing. And I was like, okay, I need to go to all 50 states by the time I was 30. And I actually, Denver, Colorado was my last state. And it was like 31 years old that I did that. And, that was one of those things that, of course our goal, when we were doing this, we did 10 states in like 4 days, 5 days. I mean, it was like crazy, but we had to spend time. We had to be 4 hours and we had to leave the airport to actually count the state. So, I mean, how fun is that, right? And I mean, it's just so many different things when you are traveling. And when you say the trip that changed everything, those are probably two of the biggest ones for me. But it was like an instant love for travel, for sure.
Absolutely. All right. So remind me to go back, because you got 50 by 50. We got to remember to talk about that.
50
That'll
by
be the
30.
bonus for today.
31.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So Shelley, what is the trip that changed everything?
I wish I could say it was like one particular trip. I just remember growing up always thinking, I really like this travel thing. Like I really, really liked it. But I will say the one trip that really convinced me that I had to do more of this as a family, right? I went on quite a few trips, international and continental US, for work. And, they were always like 5-star resorts and 5-star dining and, 5-star customer service. It was fabulous. And I was like, okay, this is really awesome. But I never did that with my kids. And the one trip that completely changed how I viewed that was Vietnam. When my grandmother passed, she left some inheritance for my sister and I. And she was an avid traveler. I mean, she was still traveling internationally in her early 80s. She was 97 when she passed. Her last trip was at like 88. And that's just incredible to me. And so when I got this inheritance, I knew that the timing was right. I knew I wanted to take my 3 kids who were raised with her. I was in my 40s. I was in my late 40s before my grandmother passed. That's huge. Like, I don't have a lot of friends that can say they lived, all of that time. Like, my kids were raised with her. And I thought this is the perfect way to use that inheritance is to take my 3 kids, and we went to Vietnam, and we settled on Vietnam because my oldest was stationed in Okinawa at the time. He had come home for 2 weeks of leave, almost 3 weeks of leave. I think he took like 5.5 weeks total. And then we traveled Vietnam and Japan for 2 weeks. And I just knew there had to be more of that. Like to watch my kids, to get to show them that. I didn't get to do that as a single parent. I probably would have never done that even after my husband and I got married. Like we had then, I went from 3 kids in my house to 5. And I was like, we would have never done that, but we honored my grandma in that way, and it was the perfect way to like kick off our love to travel together as a family. So
That is amazing.
All right, Amy, what about you?
All right. So me, whenever I was younger, I was a lot like Shelley. We did a lot of traveling, but most of ours was just in a car. We would drive, right? So
truck.
yeah. So somebody we know, I think that was what they call it, the family vacation, because we go to the family's house and vacation.
Mhm.
So that's what we did. And I really liked it. I enjoyed it. I lived in Kansas. We'd drive down here to Oklahoma, or we went to Colorado, or we went to Idaho, or whatever that might look like. We did all those things. But whenever I got older, there was a thing that happened. My first husband was not necessarily the nicest guy. I wanted to be able to take my kids on away for the holiday because something horrible happened over Christmas, and I didn't want them to remember that. So I said, you know what? Let's do a cruise. I had not a clue in the world how to even do a cruise. I didn't know. I got online, I started doing stuff, and I pushed buttons, and we booked ourselves on a cruise. Drove to New Orleans, went on our cruise ship, and said, you know what? After it was over, we all knew we needed to do it again. So in March, we did it again. And then it took me a few years. I had met my second husband, Andrew. He is absolutely amazing, but he is the one that took me. So it's a combination of that very first cruise with my kids and the one that Andrew booked with me for Christmas as a Christmas gift. And we went, he and I, just us together, went and we were able to unplug and just be us for 7 whole days on a cruise ship.
Mhm.
Those 2 trips together meant everything to me. I knew I liked to travel. I didn't necessarily want to fly. I didn't really, honestly. I flew whenever my dad had a heart attack and I had to go um, to him. That was my extent
Yeah.
of my flying up to that point. So like all of I just those 2 things together made a perfect
Yeah.
way for us to travel. Loved it.
No, and I love, Amy, that you have that one trip with your kids and that one trip with Andrew. Ours is very similar. I always wanted to go to Venice for my honeymoon, and my husband made that happen for me. My second husband made that happen for me. And I was like, this is what it's like to travel with a spouse. Like it was, you guys, it was incredible. Like, ah, even when he made me mad when we were in Florence, I'm like, how can you make your wife mad when you're in Florence? But he did it.
Oh,
It might have been some jet lag,
yeah.
maybe, just irregular schedules, who knows? But, even then I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. Like we have to do more of this. And I think it's exactly what you said, Amy. You disconnect. You're there
In the
together. And
moments.
and I mean, I know all of us work when we travel,
Yeah.
and that's okay. Like I like what I do, and I don't mind setting a little bit of time, but for the majority of when we're gone, we disconnect. We don't have dishes and laundry and floors and dogs and kids calling, and it
Hmm.
it just changes
Yeah, and
everything.
just yeah, it does. And speaking on that, is that I think even young, old, everybody in between, they need to do that as a couple.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
they need
Yes.
to get away because honestly, we will talk about this, I'm sure, throughout the time. Is that Dave and I, we got married. Took us 9 years to have MJ, my son, and so we traveled for 9 years. Well, as soon as MJ came along, I mean, a baby coming along, we just didn't travel that much, and we definitely didn't travel by ourselves because we had to take him along.
Right.
But then we started traveling just recently, a few years, we like, oh, this is why we're together. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? It's like we have so much in
Yep.
common because we love to travel. That's the reason why we got together. That's the reason why we stay together, you know, and I remember, I mean, it was
Hopefully
just,
there's a little more than that.
oh yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah, they kind of
But
like each other, but
yeah,
Just a
just a
yeah, yeah.
little.
little.
But you know, and I can't even remember the last time before. The one that I remember is that we went to London.
Mm,
And you guys remember that because it was only like 3 years ago.
Mhm.
And me going, oh, why haven't we done this? You know, it's like that connection. And, you know, we try to do, I mean, of course, then we went to Fiji this year for
Yes.
our 25th wedding anniversary. But I can't emphasize a
yeah,
match as I can is that please, people, just go if it's only just
right.
for 2 days, or if
Mhm.
it's down the street at a hotel, get away from your children and connect with your spouse. It's so important.
And
Absolutely.
turn off your phones.
And turn off your phone.
That right there. Turn off your phone.
Turn
You
off
can
the
like you can
phones.
put it on do
Pretend
not
like you're a Gen
disturb.
Xer.
Yeah,
Put it on do not disturb and take pictures if you feel like you need to, but
yes,
yeah,
exactly.
lock it up in the safe and move on. All right, so what's your 50 by 50? Do you remember what was that you were supposed to be doing?
Fifth, oh, 50 things by 50.
Uh-huh.
Yes. So that was really fun. And, you know, and I, you know, and I keep saying I'm going to have to get 55 things by 55. So
Oh,
Yeah,
WF
that's what it was. Okay.
55. Um,
forgot about that.
and yes, I know. And, you know, the crazy thing is that, you know, we didn't make it 55 things by 55, but we had fun trying. We really did.
Yes.
It was so much fun. So, um, one of the things, of course, you know, we had been to Cancun, but we didn't go to Riviera Maya. So we counted that as 50, you know, one of those 55 things. We did, you know, pottery. We did cooking class. That was actually probably my favorite was the cooking class. And now, you know, as Shelley said, Italy has always been on my bucket list. I
Oh,
mean,
oh,
always, always. And I've always said, I want to eat and drink all across Italy. I mean, that's like the goal. And we just had one of our fellow travel agents that went to Italy, and she literally every single day she had gelato. I
mm.
mean, like, and probably multiple times a day she had gelato. And I'm like, oh, I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous that I want to do that. But in the cooking classes in Italy, that's exactly what I want to do. I
Oh,
want to do cooking
I've already
classes.
said we go back. I am so doing a cooking class in Tuscany. Like it is
Yeah.
happening. It is
No,
just gonna have to be part of the plan. Like,
it is.
yeah.
And you know,
I
and
do
it
not regret eating and
yeah.
drinking our way through last
Oh,
time. I mean, every
no.
single night. So my husband is a recovering alcoholic. He is not, I don't know him drinking and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But every single night he's carrying boxes, these little boxes with little handles on them of bottles of wine back to our hotel for me as I'm like, okay, I'm
Oh,
coming, babe.
yeah. And you know, and I love, and you know, it's so funny, and I just realized it tonight that all three of us are actually on our second husband. I did not realize that until tonight. And I probably just, I mean, knew, but I just
Yeah.
didn't, you know, realize it. So I think that's kind of funny is that, you know, and I think Gen Xers, the theme of our our podcast here, can relate to that. You know,
Yeah.
maybe, and that was me, is that I got married very young because that's what we were taught to do. Do you
Yes.
remember
And then
that?
you were
I
supposed to
was
stay
just
married
dumb.
we were supposed to stay married because divorce was not acceptable.
No,
Yeah.
no. And you couldn't leave your parents' house until you were married. You know, that's
Yeah, I
what I
rebelled
was.
against that. I totally
I
I
did too.
rebelled against that one.
But I was only out
Yeah.
for 6 months before I met my husband, my ex-husband. So, but you know, obviously that didn't last very long. But, and I think I probably, my didn't even year and a half that mine was gone in a year and a half.
No,
And you
20 years. I
were
did
20
20.
years.
Yeah.
And Shelley, you
Yeah.
were how long? Too
5.
long, I know, but
Yeah.
5. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and
Not
I
quite
think
5.
that I think we
Mhm.
I mean, as Gen Xers, that's what we were taught. And I'm
Yes.
so glad that that's different now. I mean, I
But
really am.
I had, but yes, that's what I was taught. That's what my grandmother, you know, really shared with us. That's what she taught us. And my birth dad died so young. Um, like,
Um,
and I remember my parents having problems when I was
right.
little,
Mm-hmm.
but they always seem to work that through.
Mm-hmm.
And, to this day, I still believe though, um, I didn't stay because that's what I was taught. I stayed because I was too scared not to,
Right.
and
Yeah.
if it hadn't, if our situation hadn't kind of occurred the way it did,
Mm-hmm.
and he put his hands on me that final time, I would have probably stayed. I mean, it never was great, but
Mm-hmm.
he didn't always abuse me.
Right.
I probably would have still stayed, but I had a baby in my hands and he got a hold of me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that was my wake up call. Like,
Right.
oh, wait a minute. Like, why
Mm-hmm.
am I doing this? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It was
Yeah.
crazy,
Yeah.
crazy.
All
Yeah.
right, so we just kind of derailed this.
We
We
did.
did.
Let's go back. Let's talk
Well,
about
I
the
don't know.
trip that
Did we?
changed
Because that's
everything.
all life as a Gen Xer.
Yeah.
So
Life,
There you
life as a
go.
Gen Xer.
Yeah.
Well,
who
you
knows?
asked
Let's
about the
talk for travel.
55 things
Yeah.
by the time I was 55,
Yeah.
and that was a big part of travel. Yeah, it
There you
was.
go.
Travel was big. Hmm.
All right, so tell me this. What is it that, like, we know that there's certain things that caused us to like the travel, right? Our trip. But what is it about the actual trips that that you experience that makes you really want to just continue traveling?
So the big part for me is, and and maybe it was the beginning too, and I didn't realize it, but is the culture. It's like experiencing, just like when we were in Fiji, the Fijian folks, the Fijian people are so welcoming and so amazing and so like me. I mean, a US citizen, I am more of like, oh, come, hug me, do all this. But that was every single Fijian person that we met wanted to hug us as soon as we met them. That's me. So that it's different cultures. And and obviously I've been in London, and it wasn't like that. I was in Paris, and the first experience that I was in Paris, the person said, these Americans, they were so mad at Americans for coming to Paris, but it still was, it was just seeing everybody. Because, I
Mhm.
thought people were different. I mean, like, but we're not. We
We're
are
not.
all the same. It's just maybe we do something a little different, but we're
Live
still
in
all
dis-
the same. Yeah,
Yep, we live in different locations.
right.
Yeah.
What about you,
Exactly.
Shirley? What's the one thing that draws you to travel?
It's the people. It
Mm.
oh, we are all, like Tammy just said, we are all the same. Whether we have more melanin in our skin, whether we're pale, whether we're short, whether we're tall, whether we're skinny,
Freckles.
whether we're fat, whether we have all my freckles.
Mm.
Yes.
We're all created the same, and we all have this desire to be connected,
Yeah.
to be part of something. And we all want to be loved and share our lives to some degree. Some of us share way more than others, but we all share our lives with somebody. And to meet those people in these other countries or cities, or
Mhm,
whatever it is, to just meet them, to hear their stories, to
mhm.
learn how they grew up,
Right.
what that deep like hurt is in their heart, or what that deep need is, or that dream
Mhm,
that
Mhm.
they have, to just take time to get to know them.
mhm.
You can't do that when you go to work and you go home and you go to your kid's ball game and you might go to church and you go to the same grocery store. You're never going to get those experiences, and travel lets us have those connections. And ah,
Yeah.
I know
I
she got
feel bad
emotional
for
on us.
people that don't experience
It,
it. Like,
it is. I
ah,
know.
Oh, let's add on top of that, the other thing is, to me, it's myself. I
Yeah.
am always happy traveling.
Yes.
oh,
Oh, yeah.
Always. There's no stress.
None.
No
Right.
craziness. There's no
None.
big yuck. It's just
It's
stress-free, relaxing, and fun. Even
and
if you're
Well,
even if you're hitting and you're going and you're going and you're going, because I'm telling you,
that's
we've
true.
had some major flight delays and different things that
exactly.
happen, but it hasn't ever been to, I mean, they were flight delays and craziness when going to Spain, and we're going into a
Yeah.
foreign country, and it still didn't stress me out because
Mhm.
ultimately we're going to get to point whatever,
Right.
Yep.
from A to B,
That's
and we're going to get there and we're going to have
mhm.
fun. It just might look a little bit different. So, um,
A-
than what
And
we've
it
done.
will.
Yeah.
And that is, and I have people that get, I mean, as you probably know too, people get all worked up about flight cancellations or flight delays or whatever. And I'm like, enjoy the airport. Come on. I
That's
mean,
why you
Visit
go.
with your neighbor.
That's why you go a day
yeah.
early. Like you plan
Yes.
for that, right? You
Yes.
plan for the
Yes.
unexpected. You plan for the worst. You
Yeah.
go
And
a
I
day
always,
early and then you don't miss, I don't know,
yeah.
you're checking in at your hotel, going on
Yeah.
your cruise, like whatever. You don't miss
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, exactly. And I actually honestly thought I was the only one out of all three of us that actually felt like that. So Amy, I'm so glad that you
Yeah.
said that these delays just don't, I mean, they don't, they never bother me at all.
Hey, you
I
know
was
what?
in
It's
delays.
more
Yeah.
opportunity to talk to people.
It
That's
is.
it.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is. And I remember I went to Chicago. I have an aunt in Chicago and I went there with my cousin. And I mean, everybody knows my husband works for the airline, so I get free flights. So I actually fly standby. And whatever happened that day that we were supposed to leave, well, the flight went from having like 20 seats available to have no seats available.
Oh.
And my cousin got so worked up because she actually had a confirmed seat. I did not.
Mm.
And so I actually had to stay in the airport. And when she got on the plane, she's like, I don't want to leave you. What's going to happen to you at the airport? I'm like, nothing. It's
I'll
like
wait for
my,
another flight.
yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it's like, it's crazy that some people are so stressed about it. And
But
you
some people
can't.
don't know any different though, Tammy.
Right.
Like,
I
I mean,
know.
they have no idea what it is to fly standby, and you
Mhm.
have to wake up in the morning knowing, all right, I might get on a 6 a.m. flight, I
Yep.
might get on a 10 a.m. flight, I
Yep.
might get on a 2 p.m. flight, I might get there at 1 o'clock, 1 p.m., 5 p.m., or 1 a.m. the next day. Like, you kind of
Right.
have to just embrace that attitude when you're
Yeah.
flying
Yeah.
standby.
And it is, you do, you have to embrace it. And that maybe that's
Amy, I
why,
went,
and that doesn't bother me. I mean, because
Uh-huh.
I've always embraced it. Yeah.
yeah.
What's your
Amy,
question?
I love that you brought that out though, that,
I do too. I'm so glad
travel
you brought that up.
makes us not stress. Like,
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
even in our stressiest, that's a word,
Stressiest stress
most
moment.
stressed trips,
I know.
I still wouldn't trade
Uh-oh.
the daily stress of at home for a
No.
stressful day of
No,
travel. Like,
no.
All
I'll
right.
take it
So tell
back.
me this. This is going to be our last question, then we'll move on and do fun things in
Yeah.
life. What is one thing you wish somebody had told you before you had started traveling that you did not know? That's a hard question. Do you want me to go
Nope.
first?
Nope.
You got
I got it.
it.
Shelly
Okay.
got it. All right. Go ahead, Shelly.
You do not need to take everything from your bedroom, your medicine cabinet, and your kitchen sink.
Oh my
Okay.
God.
You can buy stuff there. You can do
Yes.
wash in the sink, go to the grocery store, go to the pharmacy, buy you some laundry soap and do some wash in the sink. I'll tell you, and I know we're gonna have another episode on this, so there's a plug.
Yeah.
But
Next
Yeah.
week.
one of my favorite things to pack, which you guys will hear, like I said, on a future episode, is a retractable clothesline that you can put up in your room.
Nice.
I like
Nice.
it.
Nice.
I like it.
Nice.
All right, Tammy, what's the one thing?
You know, so I was just like you too, Amy, is that I had famcations. I didn't have, I mean, I'm in Ohio. The farthest we went before I was, 18, 20, whatever it was West Virginia, in
Right.
Virginia, in Kentucky,
It's not very
this,
far.
the states that connect, Illinois, Indiana, all of those. And if somebody would have told me at a younger age that this world and I mean, of course you knew this, but the world was worth experiencing, and that you need to go and you need to travel as much as you can, because here I am going, we're all Gen Xers. So we only have so many trips in us before we go into the, happy sky. But I wish I would have traveled more.
Mhm.
And still, even now, even though I do 12, probably 12, 15 trips a year, I wish I still would be able to travel more and to go to those places that I might be scared of,
Yes.
that it's not scary. It's not scary to go to Japan. It's not scary to go to China. Um, it's not scary to go to Holy Land. That's where I would love to go before I die. And it's not scary. That's it. That's where, see, I knew I could
Not
talk
scary.
myself into it, that this world is not scary.
There you go.
There you
I
go.
love it. I love
Yeah.
it. All right. So the one thing that I wish somebody had told me before I went on that trip with my kids, the very first cruise, because I had
First.
absolutely no idea what I was doing. Like
Yeah.
we literally packed our clothes and had no idea like anything that was happening. I wish I would have realized that I needed to research. Formal night,
No.
what do you eat in the main dining room, all those kind of things.
Yeah.
Those are all those things that I wish I would have known, but I figured them out. Still had a great time. The best trip ever, but I digress.
Yep.
There you go.
Yes. Yes.
All
But
right. So we have shared with you what our favorite trip was, the trip that changed everything, or the trips.
and a few other things we've shared.
Yeah, and then along the way, kind of, yeah, yeah. We saw a few squirrels. It's all good.
Yeah,
All
it's
right.
okay.
Well, first and foremost, we want to say this. Thanks for joining us
Thank
for
you.
this episode of our wild and beautiful journey. Now, go on, have yourself a great time, and see us next week again. All right. Bye-bye, guys.
Hearts
Bye,
wide
everybody.
open, turning the globe with dreams unbroken. Share